WOLB Baltimore and WERQ FM HD3 Baltimore.
Celebrating Radio 1's 42nd anniversary.
Our Radio 1 family, our employees, their family members, our listeners, our viewers, our extended family.
And serving the African American community for over 42 years.
The views and opinions of the guest and host you hear on 1010 WOLB
are not necessarily those of the staff and management of Radio 1, its sponsors, or advertisers.
Welcome to Pocket Watchers. I'm your host, Treetop Chris. On this show, we talk about nurturing your wealth and cultivating your future through financial education. Let's talk finance, people.
Peace, family. It's your boy Treetop Chris checking in on this Wednesday, 6 p.m. I think today is the 13th of September. Thank you, everyone, for joining. Everyone who is live on TikTok here. You can find me on TikTok at TreetopChris_, Instagram TreetopChris_. Got a couple items on the to-do list today for today's show of Pocket Watchers. But the first things first, let's get into something I like to call buy once, cry once. Let me say that again. Buy once, cry once. What do I mean by that? So I'm a financial guy, so I care about money. But a lot of us try to cut corners when it comes to finance, right? So how many of you like to go out and try to find a deal? Everybody? Me? We got a specific group of people that are considered the word cheap, but we're not going to use the word cheap. We're going to use the word frugal, right? Frugal it's just a fancy way to say cheap. I'm sorry. It is. But it's okay. It's okay to be frugal. Make good decisions with your money. Try to get the best you can for your buck, the best bang for your buck. But what do I mean by buy once, cry once? Now, we want to buy high quality goods. We want to buy things that hold up over time. So a lot of people buy, let's use cars, for instance, right? Some cars are economy cars. You buy your Hondas, your any type of considered low level car, your Toyotas, even your Fords, some of them, right? Now, another person will come in and say, hey, I want to buy a BMW. I want a Mercedes. I want XYZ. You can get whatever you like, but buy once, cry once, right? So am I going to spend an extra $30,000 or $40,000 on a vehicle that's going to make me cry several times? Or are you going to buy something that's going to hold you over for the time being until you have extra money to get a second vehicle, which is going to be the best vehicle that you can afford for that money? And you don't have to worry about crying because you can afford it, right? That trickles down into every part of your life, right? If you're going to buy a house, you can buy a house for a deal. You can buy that house and it needs some work. If you're going to put the work in it, that's a good deal. If you're going to have someone else put the work in it and you've never worked on a house before, it's probably not a good idea. You're probably going to end up crying a couple times because you tried to cut corners. And for the homeowners that are already out there, I know a lot of you have had some work done on your house, right? You try to find people who can do it for a deal. Yeah, I'll charge you a couple grand less than the next guy. You get in there and it's a $2 job. It's a $2 job. I'm mad now, and I might cry in anger, but I don't want to because we're doing buy once, cry once, right? So let's try and see if we can vet any and everything that we do when it comes to finances, so we don't have to deal with the overwhelming anger that comes from trying to get a deal and then getting ourselves disappointed after we got such deal. Let's try to see if someone can vouch for the person that is doing these services for us. Let's try to see if someone has bought this product that you're trying to buy and have experienced it. Look at the reviews. I don't know how many people don't look at the reviews. I know a lot of people look at reviews. I look at reviews because I'm a finance guy first and foremost, and I don't want to spend my money and be angry. But some of us don't, Some of us don't like to repurchase things. How many times have you bought something and it just keeps breaking over and over again until the point where you figure, hey, you know what? I'm going to buy something different because this thing sucks. Excuse my language. But it's all good. We all learn from experience, right? So if we don't get to the point where we experience it, some of us, we will never decide to make the best decision first. And I think that's the hardest part for a lot of us. Some of us are hands-on experienced learners. Some of us cannot take a next person's experience as our experience, in which case a lot of people live their life and they are happy in that mode of just, hey, I want to know for myself. Because how many times have you guys guys and gals, I'm sorry, been to a movie, and before you go to the movie, they say this movie is trash. I hated this movie, and it's all bad reviews. You go see it with your wife, your spouse, and the movie is great to you. You enjoyed it. I liked it. They said it was trash. But when it comes to spending money, everything might not work like the movie. So remember this radio show, The Pocket Watchers, and what I'm saying here when I say buy once, cry once. Try your best to get quality goods at a good price without sacrificing quality just because you're trying to get a deal. Okay? Now, again, thanks everybody for joining on TikTok. For the people here, peace and love. For the people that are joining on the radio and live on WOLB.com, WOLB Baltimore.com. Thank you for joining in. This is Treetop Chris, and we're talking about finances and a better life, right? I'm going to do a shameless plug in a little bit, but I'm going to save that for later. But for right now, we're going to move on to the next segment because I think it's a little important to a lot of us, because I have some people who are business owners or prospective business owners that follow me on social media and that are my clients and are prospective clients. So let's move into the next segment, which is going to be own nothing, control everything. Have you ever heard of that? Own nothing and control everything. I think some of us have heard of it, right? What do people mean when they say own nothing and control everything? The people who are the upper echelon in finance, right? I think they're referring to LLCs. How many people in this radio show or the listeners that are out there and online have their own LLC? Some of us do, some of us do not. Some of us are thinking about getting one. Let me speak to the people who are thinking about getting an LLC first. If you're working a W-2 job and your job is not the best job and you think that you want to start an LLC, from a finance guy, I'm a certified financial planner, I would say don't do it. Be the best employee that you can be first in your eyes, and then think about if you want to step out there and start your own business, because it is extremely difficult. And you probably shouldn't even expect a profit for the first 3 to 5 years. Some of them say 6 years or so before you start a business. But if you're already a business owner, you already know how it goes. It is tough. For some of us, it's really easy. I wouldn't say easy, but it's manageable. And that's because a lot of the people that start businesses and the ones that succeed, they're built and made of different stuff. That's the way to put it. You guys are tough. You know, we have a lot of losses in the beginning that we have to get to before getting to success. There are some people, just like there's some people that hit the lottery, that are super duper successful when it comes to starting a business. But for the most part, the average person is going to start a business. It's going to be extremely difficult, but you can do it. I believe in you, with the intention of separating yourself from the business. And that goes back to what I'm speaking towards and what it means by saying own nothing, control everything. Because in my first show, which was 2 weeks ago, I think it's the 3rd week or 4th week, I'm not sure. It's all a blur. It's the 3rd week. Okay. All right. Thank you. Week number 3. In the previous weeks, I talked about in minor detail owning nothing and controlling everything, because I look at people as corporations, right? Your social security number is an account number. I'm going to leave that tidbit there, but just know that you are a corporation under the United States government. You as a person, Sam Smith, Regina Hall, whatever your name is. If you made it up, some of us think that we're animals. I'm not going to talk about that. But anyway, whatever your name is, you are a corporation, and you look at yourself as a human being, but not a corporation. But there are people out there who only look at you as a corporation. So if from the corporation perspective, from how I see it and how the big wigs see it, we need to figure out how we can separate all of these debts and these ambitions that we have from our personal selves, so we don't have to focus on the fact that we have to live and survive through the days and still have to pay numerous taxes, very, very, very large tax bills and cost of living. So when you start an LLC and you actually started with the intention of having a legitimate business, you're taking the skills that you've learned over time. I don't care if you figured out how to paint stuff, if you're in IT, if you're in healthcare, if you're a fitness instructor, if you're a sandwich artist. It's my people at Subway. If you're a sandwich artist, I need you to go out and start a TikTok. I need you to go out and start an Instagram and show people how good you are at making sandwiches, because that's a business. Believe it or not, you be out on your own before you know it, selling footlongs that are actually footlongs and not 10 inches. I'm not going to take shots today. But anyway, own nothing, control everything. Start that LLC, and if you got it already, separate yourself from you, the corporation, and start a new corporation that is profitable. What does profitable mean? Profitable in the business aspect means $10,000 plus a month, $10,000 a month. How many people out there would be in a better predicament if they had $10,000 a month? And I'm talking about after bills, people. After bills, not before bills. Think about it. It's something cool. Not everybody has it. I'm not going to talk about my pockets, even though there's pocket watchers. No, I'm just joking. It's a threshold that we passed some time ago, but we need to understand that, a lot goes into the business. And the reason that I say that is because even though you're making good money, there's overhead. You have to pay overhead just to run, right? So if you're separating yourself from yourself, think about having a friend that's controlling a business and how you would want them to do it if they were you. How many things can you do that with in life? How many situations can you say, hey, do X, Y, Z, and that person does it 100%? I don't know too many situations where that works, even with kids. You can tell your kids one thing, they do something totally different. It's the most surprising thing in the world. But when it comes to your business, you have full control over what that business does from your mind, from your creative perspective. And not only that, it can get to a point where it has nothing to do with you. Now we're talking about business structures, right? We're talking about holding companies. We're talking about trust. We can get really, really deep into it, but the whole point again is to separate yourself from what you already are, which is a business. But you need a business that is not attached to your social security number. And this is not to get over on the government. This is not to avoid paying for things. This is literally so you can live a debt-free life while still controlling debt. But it's not yours. It belongs to your business. So think about that for a second, right? Your debt to income ratio. What if you had $300,000 on your debt to income and then all of a sudden it's gone because it belongs to a business? Your business has to be profitable to make that transition. Your business has to stand on its own too for you to benefit from moving that over, because you can gift it to your business, of course, if it's paid off. But if it's not paid off, there's ways around that as well. I'm a financial planner. A lot of people who listen to my show, they reach out and they ask me questions. A lot of questions I answer for free. I know a lot of people call me for free. It's okay, because I didn't always charge for my services. I just don't have the time for everybody to ask me questions. So I have to charge you. But just keep in mind, if you're the type of person who is interested in starting your own business or taking your business and separating it from yourself truly and wholeheartedly, you can always reach out to me via email at cbrown@treetopfg.com, or you can just hit me up on social media again. That's treetop_ on Instagram and TikTok. But back to own nothing and controlling everything. What is the inherent benefit of this? Multiplying yourself, right? Well, if you had 3 of you making $10,000 a month, that's $30,000 a month, right? Now you're talking about multiple streams of income, but from where? From someone else? It could be from multiple people. But again, you control all of that. You own none of it personally, but your LLCs control it. You may own an LLC that's out of state, and that LLC points to another LLC that is in state. Remember, you don't own anything, but you control everything. And these are just concepts that I want to introduce you all to as we go throughout the weeks on Pocket Watchers. And again, thank you all for joining. But that ends that segment. I hope you got some questions. And if you do, like I said, I gave you all the ways that you can hit me up here. I have my phone number here on the screen, but that's okay. You can always email me or hit me up on social media. Now, let's get into the next segment here. But before that, again, my name is Treetop Chris. I'm a financial planner. I help people with their finances. But what I also help people with is credit funding. So if you are an entrepreneur, business owner, or looking to get your credit taken care of to the point where you can get access to $50,000 in credit in as little as 90 days, sometimes sooner, sometimes my clients get their money within 2 to 6 weeks. But if you're interested in anything like that, you can go to my website at www.treetopfg.com, or you can hit me up on social media and we can get you going with some good capital money so that you can separate yourself from yourself and own nothing and control everything. Right? 50,000 in credit. I can help you. Don't pass it up, people. Shameless plug. That was a shameless plug I talked about in the beginning. But on to the next segment. Auto save your savings. How many of you do your expenses every month? And in your expenses every month, it includes gas and electric, whatever expenses you have on a car, if you have a car, transportation, everything like that. And then at the end of the day, you still want to save, right? Do you add your savings to your expenses? Because savings is an expense. You hear me? Savings is an expense. I need you, if you're going to save $150 a month, that $150 a month needs to look like a bill. It might not feel the same, but if it's a bill, it's already accounted for. Because bills, we don't have a choice for some of those, unless you're just going to run away from them. But for the people who pay their bills on time, once you add that savings to it, what do you do next? It could be $75, $150. It could be $300. Some people save $1,000. I want you to keep saving in your expenses until you have at least $2,000 saved up in your savings. That doesn't include 401ks. That doesn't include anything that's going to tax you or is going to penalize you when you take your money out of it, right? Think about that again. If the money that you're putting somewhere is going to hurt you when you pull it from where it is, that money does not count as savings in the short term. Long term, great. Short term, bad. You want your money to be liquid, what they call it, meaning that if you go to the fridge and you want something to drink, you pour what you're drinking. You don't have to put in a secret code. It shocks you, and then you take your drink out. That's not what you want to do. You want to have your money liquid. I want it to be accessible at all times, and where it's sitting, I want it to be making me money faster than inflation can take my money. Something I posted on social media today. It was a chart that started in 1985, and it's the median income versus the median rent. It's the average income versus the average rent. Since 1985, the average rent has gone up 160%. Let me say that again. The average rent has gone up 160% since 1985. Guess how much the median income has gone up? About 30, 40%. 30 or 40% the median income has run up, but the median rent has gone up 160%. Think about that for a second, people. All of the people that didn't put savings into their expenses are getting hit over the head. And if they're not getting hit over the head, their children are. Their children are. For the people who don't have kids, you're still getting hit over the head. But think about the kids for a second. All you want to do is give them everything you never had, right? Well, there's something and someone out there that's giving them a percentage that they never had. Uncle Sam, he's giving them a percentage that they never had, 100% increase over when you were a little kid, right? So if you're not thinking about finances, you're being irresponsible, people. I'm saying that to you because I care about you. I want you to think about everything that you can think about so your kids can be okay, Think about this responsibly, right? We have to prepare them for the extremely high prices that we never experienced before. How do we prepare them? We teach them good practices. And one of those good practices is adding savings to your expenses early in the game. Early in the game, as early as possible. I got a daughter, she's 13 years old. I teach her about savings. I've been teaching her about savings since she was 7. Some people said, well, Chris, why are you teaching her about finances and stuff? She can't even use it. What? I don't see these kids is 3 years old with an ATM in their room. They playing with little fake money. There's nothing wrong with that. It's never too early to teach your kids about anything, especially finances. When they have to eat to live, they need a roof over their head. You know, some parents don't like their kids in their house. 18, you're getting out. I don't know. Everybody different. Some people be in their house with their parents till they're 40 years old. But it all comes back to financial practices, people. It all comes back to how you teach yourself in the long haul, the long stretch, right? Get those savings into your expenses. Now, how do you automate it? Well, that's the first thing you did. You set your expenses to include savings. Now, what's the next thing? You park your savings into a high yield savings account. What's the high yield savings accounts that Chris uses? One of them, SoFi. It's a bank that is a fintech bank. It's a financial technology bank. SoFi, SOFI. You put your money in there, your money grows 4% plus. What's inflation right now? 3%, something like that. Your employee gives you a 3% raise every year. Clap your hands. Thank you. Why are they giving you a 3% raise? That's because inflation has gone up 3% and they're battling inflation. So your lifestyle can stay the same, even though you're getting paid the same amount of money from an inflation perspective. On one of my shows, the past shows, I talked about how $1 million in 1990 is equal to 2 million, 2.2 today. So that means that every time your employee raises your money, if he doesn't double your money, at least 6 to 7% every year, he's just giving you the money that you deserved anyway. So you park your money in a savings account that's going to yield you something bigger than 3%. That's at least 4%. SoFi is the first bank. DCU is the second bank. That's going to be Digital Credit Union. I know you haven't heard of it because you don't listen to Treetop, Chris. But I'm going to keep going. What's the first one? SoFi. The second one, Digital Credit Union. And this one is for all my Apple users. I know Android people despise Apple users, and Apple users, we love our Apple phones. I'm sorry, I made the switch some years ago. I'm not sorry. I'm just joking. Apple Savings Account. Apple Savings Account gives you 4.15 as a savings account. And every time you swipe your Apple card, they automatically put the change in your savings account. I personally use this. I love it. And then we got USAA. They have a good savings account for our veterans out there. Shout out to all the veterans. Let's take a moment of silence for September 11th just passed. Peace and love. Peace and love. I appreciate your service, vets. And anyone that's listening, thank you, thank you, thank you. But I gave you a few banks. Your savings are in your expenses. You want to put your money and park it where it's going to beat inflation. Now, what about investments? So you got your money in your savings, right? That's automatically saving your stuff. But then you got the accounts that's going to tax you. Okay. But we're still going to park some money in there. In your expenses, you put your investment amount in there as well. We got Vanguard. You can invest in some stocks. Charles Schwab. My personal favorite, Fundrise. What is Fundrise? Fundrise, it's like a crowdfunding platform for real estate where you can invest in real estate passively, meaning I don't have to go pick up a hammer. I don't have to pick up a screwdriver. I don't have to pick up people and take them to fix a house. Nothing. You just go on Fundrise. You set your automatic payments every week, 2 weeks, 3 days, and automatically, depending on which portfolio you use, they'll invest your money into real estate, and you'll get either a piece of the pie in the form of dividends. And some of us understand what dividends are. They'll give you some dividends every month, or you could just stack your money similar to a stock account. And then over time, you wait till it gets big enough, you take it out of there. Now, again, these investment tools are going to be taxed when you take them out. So if we're going to use the high yield savings account with the combination of the investment accounts, you do that, but at least set it to automatic and set it as a part of your expenses so it can be out of the way and it can grow to combat inflation, to combat those rent prices, to combat everything. Tell your kids about it. Let them know early. They get their first job. They're working at Wendy's. They're making, I don't know how much Wendy's people make now, but when I was working, I was working at McDonald's. I'm not going to talk about my age right now, but when I started working at McDonald's, I think minimum wage was $7.25, $6.25. Now, between the time I started my job and now, however many years later, if I would have understood the concept of compound interest, meaning putting that money into an account and it's doubling or tripling over time, I would have invested that money a long time ago. I learned a little later. I still got ahead. I got a nice savings. I started my business, put my head down, did what I needed to do. But a lot of you might not be able to do that. So in order to save the time and headache for your kids, get them to start saving early and put it on autopilot. You get them in a job, wherever they're going to be, and you tell them, save 30%. It's a lot. It hurts at first. 30% is ridiculous. I try to get my clients now, try to save at least 10%. Some of them, I just give them a number value because it's just saving is just not accounted for like it should be. But it should be, people. I want y'all to really take a step back and look at your finances and see, especially my retirees, the people that are looking to retire. We have extremely, extremely helpful, aggressive savings plans for people who are trying to retire in the next 10 to 15 years. That's another thing that we do. We teach people how to pay off 30-year mortgages in 8 years, pay off 5-6-year car loans in a year and a half. We've done this for our clients. It's made a lot of them cry, but we don't want to talk about that. But anyway, auto save your savings, people. Own nothing, control everything, buy once, cry once. Those were the topics that we discussed today. I want everyone to send me any type of questions that you have. Please don't hesitate to call me or text me on my actual line. I'm going to have it up here, but if you'll email me, that's even better. And you can always DM me on social media. Again, my email is cbrown@treetopfg.com. You can find me online at treetopchris_. But we're getting close to the end of our show here, folks. I hope I gave you some value, and I really appreciate your time. Give me 1 second here. Yes. We got some people here on the live that are asking me some questions. Is it going to be uploaded somewhere so we can see again? Yes. I'm going to do some snippets here, but whatever you need, again, just shoot me a DM and ask any questions that you may have, and we can go from there. But thanks again, everyone, and I hope you have a good remainder of your evening. Peace and love.
You were just listening to Pocket Watchers, where we talk about nurturing wealth, cultivating the future through financial education. For more info, visit us at treetopfg.com or follow me on IG or TikTok at treetopchris_. Or you can just give us a call at 1-866-334-8359. Thank you for listening.